Okay, we'll call back to order the House Rules Committee, and we will open a public hearing on HCR 40.
Mr. Chairman, HCR 40 memorializes former Coos County Commissioner Nikki Whitty.
And we would invite forward both John Brenneman and Bill Markham. Please join us. Yes. Oh, and Mike MacArthur. Mike, why did you sign 2/3 of the way down the page? I've never seen that before. You're trying to trick me up?
Well, you're cutie in the morning, in the afternoon, she's
That's
a master.
for that. I did not even notice that. Welcome, gentlemen. Bill, please proceed if you want to pull a mic over to you, and welcome to the Rules Committee.
Am I up?
You're up.
Let me say I'm particularly honored to be here today. Actually, I didn't come up for this memorial, but I've known that used to be a young lady for many, many years, and for the last, before they moved back to Coos Bay, why she was a secretary to her husband Jim for I don't know how many years, and we were very well acquainted. And I'm delighted to see you have this. I haven't been in the Capitol to testify since about the first session after I left the legislature. I came back and worked for a few days off and on to get through a health bill that people saw fortunately to pass. I don't know how good it is, but it would tend to lessen lawsuits by lawyers that go after doctors, so they won't have to have insurance if they're retired and still want to give you a hand or two occasionally. But anyway, and the other thing I would say, other than being delighted to be here and really wanting to say something nice about Nikki, is it's the first time I've ever been here without a tie on, and I was in the legislature for so many years I've forgotten how many, so please excuse it.
Welcome. John, welcome.
Mr. Chair, members of the committee, I'm John Brenneman. In '83, I started a campaign to run for Senate District 2 out of Newport. My good friend Clyde Hamstreet, who sold Bill a unit at Embarcadero, was building Embarcadero, and his right-hand person was Nikki Holland then, and I became acquainted with her in her Republican days. And after about 6 months of spinning my wheels and not getting any place, Clyde told me one day that I needed a campaign manager. And I said, I don't know if you listen to the financial reports at the committee meetings, but we don't have any money. And he said, I think I can get Nikki to do that for nothing. And by golly, she did. And she worked full time. I memorialized her with others in Coquille a couple of weeks ago, and I'm able to keep my composure a little better than what I did down there. But she was such a big part of my life at that stage. She ran my life. She ran my campaign for a year. She had me on track to go all over the district and appear at different functions. As I told the folks down in Coquille, if there was a canoe race for candidates in Tillamook County, I had a paddle in my hand. And if there were crab races in Garibaldi, and there were, she was picking a crab for me to race there. And she just had me going nonstop. I went with my brother in '84 to the Olympics. Summer Olympics were in LA, and she limited me to just 1 week in June, and then I was back hitting the campaign, and she was just there all the time. And I won, and due primarily to her efforts. And then I'm not sure I ever offered her a job, but what she told me was she was going to run my office in Salem. And she quit my friend Clyde and moved to Salem and was my LA in '85. And then took a job in a title company in the interim because there was no interim pay for help. Came back and worked for me in '87. For 5 years, she was my best friend and cohort in the Senate seat, and I'm going to miss her.
Thanks, John. Mr. Speaker, you're up.
Okay.
Welcome.
Thank you. And for the record, Arnie Roblan, House District 9 representative. It's really an honor for me to be here in front of this group. One, I love the Rules Committee. It was a place that I enjoyed spending a lot of my time. Oh, very good, no? And we have had some tragedies in our county, and one of the biggest was the loss recently of Nikki Whitty. And we talked about it, a number of us. I attended the funeral and got to hear a lot of people speak some wonderful things, and it's always interesting. I've always felt really bad that sometimes the time you really get to know somebody is after they've gone, and you don't realize all the different parts of their lives. Nikki was one where I understood a lot of it, but Noah brought in a bunch of stuff I didn't know about before, and you'll get to hear from Noah, who's her son, here shortly. But the thing that I wanted to make sure that people really understood is, and Mr. Brenneman just talked a little bit about it, is how hard she works. She was a worker, and she was the kind of person that when she was determined something was going to happen, you might as well get out of the way or get on board because it was going to happen. And when she married Jim Whitty and moved to the South Coast, she started out working with our economic development corporations in our town and started helping get things going there, and eventually in '98 ran for county commissioner. And she was one of those people who had total bipartisan support. Everybody in the county loved Nikki because they knew that when they asked her a question, she was going to get back to them. If they needed her help, she was going to help them. She's one of those people who give a good name to government, and I say that really strongly because one of the best speeches at her funeral came from a person, John Griffith, who was also county commissioner with her, who said, we disagreed on some things, but I will tell you the one thing you didn't disagree with Nikki on was who was going to be at the office first, who was going to do the work. And she had a belief that government was there to do good things for people. And whether you think government should be smaller or bigger, if there were a lot of Nikkis, everybody would think it should be bigger. Because she came to work every day making sure that if she was going to leave happy at the end of the day, it was because she did something to improve one of the constituents' lives. She took care of a problem that needed to be taken care of, and she did it with grace. You know, the one of the things I really feel bad about, because you always think you're going to have people around forever, was that Nikki, when I first got elected, she came and talked, and this was the seat pretty much that Jim Whitty had, and so we have had this ongoing conversations. But Nikki said, "I'm going to have to teach you pitch. You got to learn how to play pitch." And we never took the time to do it, which is really frustrating because she said, when I was in the Capitol, that was the thing to do. And she was one of those people who organized people, who got people together and got things done, because her job was, wherever she was to make sure that the job got done. And she never forgot that when she became the elected, that attitude that she had as the assistant, as the campaign chairman, as all the other jobs she did before. She brought that same attitude when she became the commissioner, that my job here is to serve this constituency that I have. So I am honored to have the opportunity to put this resolution forward and look forward to having it come across the floor. She was a great person, and it's really great that her son could be here too. So with that, I thank you for the opportunity to speak to you today.
Great. Thank you. Glad you could be here. Do you want to make some remarks as well? Welcome to the Rules Committee. If you could introduce yourself for the record.
It's a pleasure to be here. I'm Noah Hall, Nikki Whitty's son. Came straight from my elementary school teaching job, so I apologize. I don't have a tie on today. I don't have anything prepared, but I would like to say, along with my mom being a very hard worker, she was also extremely bipartisan, and she would work with whoever she needed to work with to come to agreements and issues, and she was very good at that. Something I didn't really know growing up, but learning more about what she did at her memorial service, people came to me and just said, you know, she was an amazing woman. She did this, this, this. I went on YouTube and I saw videos of her doing a number of things. I thought, wow, she's a superwoman, and I didn't even know that. She was just a great mom. So it's neat that she could be such an amazing representative in the political arena, as well as an excellent mother and grandmother.
That's great. Well, thanks, and thanks to you for continuing the public service in the way you're doing it. Big challenge. As the daughter, as the father of an elementary school daughter, I appreciate you deeply. Any questions for any of these witnesses?
Mr. Chairman, I might add
Sure. Bill.
Very interesting, laughable time I had with Nikki when they had their office up on the 3rd or 4th floor, I should say, at that west end next to mine. They both showed up one morning about 8 o'clock, and Jim was really embarrassed, and she wasn't going to let him forget it. They jumped in their car after breakfast in their apartment, and he threw it in reverse and forgot to open the garage door. And your mother had a great time telling everybody in the legislature about that. And I think it's a nice thing to remember. And now that I sit here and look at these names, I do know at least half of your committee, and I know our representative from Roseburg rather personally, and Representative Hunt I haven't known too well, but I've known through the how many years. And certainly Jim here has been a friend of mine for many years, so thank you very much for the opportunity to stop in.
We appreciate it. Representative Freeman.
Thank you, Chair Hunt, and wanted to thank everybody for their testimony, and wanted to especially thank Representative Markham for being here today. And as he gets up to leave, I want you to look at the giant shoes I have to fill from the work that he's done in this building.
Listen to BS.
It's trained by the best.